The gentlewoman yields. I now recognize Congressman Moskowitz for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the waiver on today. You know, obviously, this is an important topic on artificial intelligence. I got to be honest, I definitely want to meet the person in the Capitol who was like, we're going to have a hearing on intelligence. Let's give that to Chairman Comer. But, you know, we saw some language wind up in a bill that everyone's complaining that, you know, they didn't read. Remember, they were the ones who had the 72-hour rule. That was their rule. In fact, they cried and demanded that every bill come forward and be given 72 hours to read a bill. They complained when Democrats were in control. Meanwhile, they passed this bill in the dead of night. Don't listen to me. That's what Elon Musk is now saying on Twitter. Yesterday, in the DOJ subcommittee hearing, Chairman Comer announced new investigations into the Biden administration. And I thought, of course, this makes total sense, right? We've recently brought back measles and the dire wolf and the tariff policies of the 1930s, so, you know, why not resurrect the failed Biden impeachment? I don't want to go down memory lane about what happened last year, but, you know, they said they would call for impeachment. That's what they said, and they never did. After hundreds of interviews, fundraising emails, and speeches, and lying to their base, they never called for impeachment. So I want to do don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. And this is, of course, all a distraction, right? They said they would lower food costs. They said they would take us into the golden age. They said they would end the war in Ukraine and Gaza. They said they wouldn't touch Medicaid. They said they would lower interest rates. They said they would lower our debt. They said they would release the Epstein files. Remember that? This is not one of the ones that Pam gave out. I made my own. It's not hard. Right? And the biggest one, my favorite, they said they would make government more efficient. DOJ, E, stood for efficiency. Name one department, one government service, anything that the government does that they made more efficient. Certainly not the Newark Airport. Definitely not FEMA. We got an administrator who's finding out about hurricane seasons. A little late. Total failure. No new technology, no new procurement rules. Procurement's a big problem in government. You got different agencies, different departments making different procurements, buying technology that can't communicate with each other. By the way, we learned that after 9/11 in law enforcement, and we still have not fixed that problem. No new streamlined processes, zero, okay? And so, look, sometimes people are visual learners, right? They're visual learners. And so, look, this is what the Republicans promised the American people. They promised them this, okay? This was the Willy Wonka thing in London. This is what they promised them. This is what it was supposed to look like, right? The golden age. And that's not what they've delivered. What they've delivered is this. This is what they have delivered to the American people. This is what is left of the DOJ effort. She got to keep her job. This is what's left. And so they're very good at telling the American people what they want to do, what they say they're going to do. But the American people should start watching what they're actually doing, or what they've done, or what they've not done. And so, listen, fine, bring in the Biden people again. We'll go through this whole thing. Tens of millions of dollars wasted in the last Congress. We'll do it all again, right? Back to our old tricks. But, of course, they want to bury them in the basement again. It's being proposed that, we'll take their depositions, bury them in the basement. Then they'll leak the transcripts. You know, they tell you, well, we want to shine transparency on the end of the Biden administration. We want to get to the truth. But they want to hold these meetings in secret, not in front of the cameras, not in front of the American people, in the bottom of a basement. By the way, I noticed that the oversight hearings are now in the bottom of a basement. Ironic after all the basement talk last Congress. But they just want to suppress information. They want to do selective leaks, and they want to distract that this is the least productive Congress in 70 years. So, listen, it's fine. We'll do it all again, okay? Won't help people at the grocery store won't.
Oh, we know that Musk and the Doge children went into every department and accessed their data sets. Initially, they were digging around and using AI to cut government funding, but it's become clear now that the goal has been to amass and merge these different pots of data into one database. Trump has now tapped tech billionaire Peter Thiel's Palantir to head up that master database. We're not talking about just intergovernment memos here in the database. We're talking about American social security numbers, home addresses, credit card numbers, medical diagnoses, and more. All that information would just be in one place, and then they're going to unleash opaque algorithms that no one understands but them. So they'll be able to do whatever they want, and we are supposed to just trust that they're working within our best interest. And we probably won't conduct much oversight because we haven't been able to bring Elon Musk or anybody associated with Doge into the Committee on Oversight and Government Accountability. So Mr. Schneier, looking at the immediate risks of this, is there a concern that having all of this information in one place can make it easier to hack or steal?
Well, that is the fear, that we keep this data separate for partially security reasons. I mean, there's a reason why that when data is shared between agencies is done under certain rules and why there are security protections around the data. So it's the data being consolidated that is a risk. Also the data leaving the government databases where they were, that's the risk. They're being moved into private companies. They're being used by algorithms. Well, you said no one understands but them. It's actually worse than that. No one understands, including them. These algorithms are opaque, and we don't know the quality of the data. As data is combined, we're talking about COBOL, a lot of that is how the data is presented and making sure that it's the same across. In my initial statement, I talked about that story about 150-year-olds getting Social Security.
Yes.
That was a problem with understanding how the COBOL wasn't coded.
Certainly.
And if you don't know that, you're going to have bad inferences that no one's going to understand and no one's going to check.
Thank you. So beyond the concerns with the data all being in one place, less secure place, we also need to be concerned about with what Trump and these tech billionaires are going to do with that data. Just very quickly, in yes or no's, Mr. Schneier, could an AI system theoretically be used to decide if someone qualifies for Medicaid?
Certainly.
How about used to make decisions around veterans' benefits?
Yep.
Could AI be used to make hiring decisions?
It can make any yes or no question you want.
Thank you for entertaining that. Trump and his administration can take all this collected data and use it to profile people, to make decisions about them, to deny them benefits. And we know from his Twitter rants that he's incapable of being unbiased. Then they're trying to prevent any state passed guardrails on AI through the provision in the reconciliation bill that you guys unseriously call the big, beautiful bill. That provision would ban any state regulation of AI for 10 years. Our government can't just play loose and fast when it comes to people's personal data and lives. We've already seen the consequences of improperly deployed AI. Michigan had to refund $21 million to residents who were wrongfully accused of unemployment fraud from their AI system. A tenant screening system called Safe Rent was accused of violating their Fair Housing Act, the Fair Housing Act, because their AI algorithm disproportionately scored Black and Hispanic renters lower than white applicants. Most of this technology is still so new and needs time to be vetted and improved. Look at what happens when AI is used just in government reports. The Make America Healthy Again report cited to multiple studies that didn't exist. Can you imagine if ChatGPT was deciding if you qualify for housing or not? That's not to say that all AI is bad, but it is dangerous to work quickly. When you move fast and break things in the government, people get hurt. Carnegie Mellon University, which is in my district, has a Center for AI Standards and Innovation and has been working with the National Institute of Standards and Technology to make a methodical approach to assessing the benefits and risks of AI models, thinking about the ethics of AI. Work like theirs is vital to ensuring that AI programs are used safely, accurately, and without bias to the best of our ability, recognizing that a society without biases is far off. But that is the approach the Trump administration should be taking, not packaging up all of our personal data and handing it over to unvetted tech billionaires. I thank you all for your time, and I yield back.
The gentlelady yields. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes. We just passed the One Big Beautiful Bill through the House of Representatives, and now it's gone on to the Senate where they will be making changes to the bill. If there's any changes made to the One Big Beautiful Bill, it comes back to the House for a vote, and we get a second bite at the apple. Now, while this bill was going through committees and being discussed in the House of Representatives, no one on either side of the aisle that I know of, Republican or Democrat, brought up this particular clause on one single page in a over 1,000-page bill. And I want to bring this up because I think AI is incredibly important. I support AI in many different faculties. However, I think that at this time, as our generation is very much responsible, not only here in Congress, but leaders in tech industry and leaders in states and all around the world have an incredible responsibility of the future and development, regulation, and laws of AI. It's such an important responsibility. It literally affects our children and grandchildren's future. So I take this responsibility incredibly sincere, so much so that this past week, I have come out in full transparency and said, when I voted for the One Big Beautiful Bill, I didn't know about this clause. I thought I was voting on taxes, energy, and border security. And this clause right here says a moratorium. In general, except as provided in paragraph 2, no state or political subdivision thereof may enforce during a 10-year period beginning on the date of the enactment of this act any law or regulation of that state or a political subdivision thereof limiting, restricting, or otherwise regulating artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems entered into interstate commerce. That is a comprehensive 10-year moratorium. Actually, what that is it is a pause for 10 years in federalism. This right here, if passed into law, will tell states they cannot regulate or make laws regarding AI. That means the federal government is the only governing body that can regulate or make laws for AI in the United States of America. And I'd like to ask each of you, do you support federalism, yes or no? I'll start with you. Do you support federalism, yes or no? State
matters. Artificial intelligence reflects the assumptions of those who build it and the priorities of those who use it. And too often, those priorities fail to include the safety, the rights, and economic opportunity of Black communities and other marginalized groups. In my district, the Massachusetts 7th, we are proud to be a national hub for technology and innovation. For example, Northeastern University Center for Inclusive Computing is leading the charge to make sure that AI opportunities are accessible to all. At the same time, we cannot allow AI to be the latest chapter in America's history of exploiting marginalized groups, namely the Black community. The government must invest in an approach rooted in equity that protects the rights of everyone. That is why, Mr. Chair, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record this report released last year from Color of Change, titled Black Tech Agenda, Advancing Equity and Reimagining Technology.
Without objection.
All right. Mr. Schneider, do you know which government employee or agency or board is responsible for overseeing AI deployment across the executive branch to prevent violations of civil liberties and civil rights?
I don't believe there is one, so if this is a test, I just failed.
Well, the truth is, no one knows. The responsibility of AI civil rights enforcement is not in anyone's job description, and that has got to change. The United States federal government is deploying AI and it's impacting our daily lives. There are more than 2,000 AI use cases across agencies. Right now, there's nothing stopping the Department of Health and Human Services from using AI systems to help decide who receives Medicaid, who receives food assistance and disability benefits. If an algorithm flags someone incorrectly, a mother could quite literally lose access to her child's medication, or a family could lose food support. There's nothing stopping the Department of Justice from using racially biased algorithms to decide who gets released from prison. AI shouldn't be determining who gets care, who stays in prison, or who can feed their kids without any sense of oversight or recourse. The government's use of AI cannot be unchecked and unregulated. If we want the public to trust the federal government, then we must have transparency. I yield back.